What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Welcome. It's early in the morning. It is literally 6:07 Eastern Standard Time. And good morning. I know many of you are not even awake yet, but welcome to the Working People's Podcast, where everybody desires to build generational wealth and a financial legacy for their families. And I'm James Hollingsworth. I'm your host today, and I want to share some real insightful things with you, hopefully. But I have a question, and the question is, are you building wealth? Do you want to build wealth? And if so, do you have a plan to do it, to build wealth? And I know it is super early in the morning. Like I say, it is 6:07 Eastern Standard Time. And if you are out on the West Coast, if you're out on the West Coast, you haven't even had your third dream yet. You're probably still over there, dreaming of, birds and butterflies and, stuff like that. You haven't even came out of your second dream and went into your third dream yet. You're still getting started. It's old dark 30. Okay, so if you do wake up, you'll be able to just go back and press the little button and watch it. But I want to get into, I haven't done it in a while, looking at some future value projections and also looking at the compound interest calculations to give you an idea of some of the ways, or one of the ways that you can build wealth. But before I do that, I want to talk about, kind of get into giving a foundation of really how some of this came about, with even me saying, let me step out here and just share some things that's on my heart about finances and things like that. And it kind of started a few years ago. I had this, I don't know, it's like I had a conversation with God. I'll just say it like that. And it's like I heard in my heart, or in my mind, God asking me the question, what do you own? Right? And that was the first step. What do you own? And so that question I'm even posing to you today. What do you truly own? Right? Then the next question with that was, what do you own that's of value? Right? What do you own that's of value? That's increasing in value. Right? And then from there, the third question was, what do you own that's of value, that's increasing in value, that can withstand a financial economic collapse? And those were the three questions that was like, came to me, I believe, from God, that was in my heart and in my mind. And then from there, I got the prompting, or like the leading, to begin to look into not rich people per se, because rich can be, I guess it can be, what really is rich, right? For some people, a couple $100,000, $500,000 will be rich. But for some other people, a minimum of $1 million might be rich. I mean, for some other people, 10 million plus might be rich. But what is considered rich, and is rich, or being rich, the same as, well, let me even back up. Some people would even consider just being healthy and having health and the ability to think, and and spiritual and a connection with God. And some people will say that's being rich, right? So what truly is the definition of rich? I mean, it's kind of subjective. And I will be, I'll just say that. To me, it's subjective. However, just like posing that question, then it came to me like, wait a minute, is rich the same as being wealthy? Especially if we're just only relating it to resources, to finances, to financial stability. And for me, it was like, no, they're not the same. You can be rich and spend it all or whatever. But to me, when I'm thinking of wealth, I'm thinking of something that is sustainable past my lifetime. So when I'm thinking of wealth and building something that you can pass to multiple generations, like the scripture in the Bible talks about, the wise man or the righteous man, he leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So for me, when I'm thinking wealth, I'm thinking of something that can be passed as an inheritance to my generations, to future generations in my family. So I don't consider necessarily saying rich the same as being wealthy to me. Also, for me, wealth is something that creates enough resources for you where you can live within the confines of that wealth, and just the resources that you've accumulated now provides a living for you that's substantial enough or sufficient enough where even if you never worked again in your life, you've accumulated enough resources and wealth where literally that wealth is, you're living off of the residual income or the cash flow or the streams of income. You're living off of that, of the wealth that you created. So that's kind of just a really brief and condensed down version of when I'm thinking of wealth and how I see the difference between being rich and being wealthy. And so when I went through that, kind of those thoughts came to me, and I just kind of answered the questions personally, like what do I own? And then what do I own that's of any significant value and that's increasing in value, right? And then third part of that is, what do I own that's of value, that's increasing in value, that can withstand an economic financial collapse or corrections in the market, and this, that, and the third. So with that said, that began, listen, this is this is already awesome and powerful. That began to lay the foundation of, how do I say it? That began to lay the foundation of not just managing what I have or us managing what we have, but it began to lay the foundation of how to properly do it in such a way that it manages risk, it mitigates risk, it tells you exactly how you should set everything up so that you can leave it to the next generation. So now it gives us a whole big comprehensive picture, a thorough comprehensive picture or image of what to do and how to do it. Now it lays the foundation of how to plan, right? And it literally gives you all the components of what you need to do to begin to establish the proper foundation to build on. So if you think about it in that way, it makes you think about, okay, what should I invest in? Do I even have enough to invest? What does my financial situation truly look like right now? And what am I doing to fix it if I have gaps, holes, discrepancies, deficiencies, whatever? What resources am I working with? Do I need more resources? It literally begins to pose all types of questions that you need to answer. You need to be able to answer. If I'm going to pass what I have to the next generation, how do I do that? And many people literally don't sit down and think about those things. So it's just like many of us live from day to day, and we just figure, hey, I got mine, my kids are going to have to get theirs. I'm going to enjoy my life to the point where I spend everything that I have. And a lot of times that level of thinking causes people to end up, and their life ends up where they're on Medicaid, where they're literally living off of the state after they get older or whatever. So not any planning. It literally a lot of times goes into how we're going to do what we're going to do. I'm going to be rich. Well, how? What's your plan? Can you articulate that plan? Can you literally have a measurable way process of how you're going to get from where you are to where you say you want to be? And so for me, it all started with those three questions. What do you own? What do you own that's of value, that's increasing in value? And what do you own that's increasing in value, that is of value, that can withstand an economic financial collapse or corrections in the markets and things like that? So therefore, now that we got that foundation kind of established, now we say to ourselves, well, how do I start building? So if you lay a foundation, that foundation must be one that you can build upon, that's sustainable, that won't fall and collapse, right? That can withstand the shaking of different types of financial situations that may happen from day to day or from year to year or from decade to decade, as the markets and as the economy, as the financial systems are cyclical, as they go in a big revolving circle. It's never going to be all bull markets, and it's never going to be all bear markets. It's never going to be all recession and doom and gloom and financial constraints and restraints. And it's never going to be, hey, we can live high on the hog either. It's never going to be an extended excessive time of either or. It's going to always be this revolving cyclical economy where things are booming, quote unquote, and where things are restrictive, So with that, all that said in mind, and I know some of that is boring, but trust me, most of the times when you're truly trying to build something that's financially sustainable, it's not really super exciting. It is a rather boring subject, and it's not very sexy, and it's not very glamorous, and it don't come with a lot of, bells and whistles and fancy stuff. It is literally talking about money and really how to grow it. It's relatively boring when you're analyzing data and you're talking about statistical data and numbers and economic environments and all the things that you need to consider and think about. It's not very exciting to talk about. So with that in mind, as I say, we're going to look at some compound interest calculations and we'll look at some future value, calculations, something that I haven't done in a while, to share with you what compound interest can really do to $1, to $100, to $1,000, what compound interest can really do. And one of my most, one of the sayings that I like, one of my favorite sayings is, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world by Albert Einstein. And he who understands it, I always mess it up. He who understands it, you'll benefit from it. And whoever doesn't, you'll pay it. Right? But compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. It's truly magical. It is truly can change your life. So, but once again, before I really dive into that, I want to kind of even lay another, level of the foundation. So I know a lot of people that have really struggled, and they've had just some not good luck in investing and stuff like that, and had some. It's been rough. Let's put it that way. There's I know a lot of people that have really lost a lot of money, right? And so if you listen to this presentation, I'm going to share with you and show you how you can limit that, mitigate that, right? So as I had that foundation built of those three questions and all of those things that came out of that, it began to inspire me, or I was led to look into, I went and started looking and searching for wealthy people. I'm talking about wealthy. I'm talking about, and I start running across names of people I had never heard of, right? And some of them were in, Australia or China or in another country. I mean, and I wanted to see how were they positioned. What basically one of the things I wanted to see was there something that all of them had in common? And if so, what was it that was something that they all did, that they all had in common? And if that is the case, if it works up on this level, truly indeed, they didn't start doing those things on this level, right? They didn't start practicing those things or doing those things that are common to them all on this level. They did it here, and progressively they consistently did those things no matter what level they're on, right? So that being the case, now it really doesn't really matter the intricate details and specifics of, are they, a business? Do they own a business? Are they a real estate mogul? Are they, are they a tech, creator? Are they a crypto, investor or crypto miner? Or are they, those specifics really didn't matter, because at the end of the day, there was a few things that they all did as well that was a part of their portfolio and the wealth that they had built. And they all had certain things that were of major concerns. And I'll tell you what those are. One thing that they all had as a concern was taxes, because taxes can erode your wealth, and taxes can prevent you from being able to pass what you have to your children or to your posterity, to the legacy that you want to leave. So taxation was one of their biggest concerns, right? Number two, one of their biggest concerns was, protecting their wealth. That falls under taxes, but also, like, not necessarily recessions, but like, what do you call it? What we call it? The erosion of the dollar, of devaluation. I guess you could say that, or I guess a better way of saying it is inflation, like the cost of just living, inflation, and the erosion of money, and the erosion of the currency through inflation and through the devaluation of the devaluation of whatever. Because think about it, everybody is not in America and living by the standard of the U.S. dollar. So if you got someone who is wealthy and they're in Europe, then their evaluation of their resources is in euros, right? So overall, the evaluation of the currency, whatever that currency is, wherever they are, through inflation or through any type of erosionary things like that. So those were things they were concerned about. But all of them had three things that I noticed they all had in common. And those three things are, write this down, they all had some level of cash reserves. All of them. Now I'm talking about the super wealthy. As I was researching and going through, they all had some level of cash reserves. I guess I should have made sure that my hold up. Yeah. So I'm coming through, because sometimes if I don't check that my volume is coming through, I'll do a whole presentation and then be like, nobody heard nothing you just said. But they all had cash reserves. Number two, they all had some level or some forms of real estate, whether it was businesses that they owned or properties that they were invested in, or REITs, real estate investment trust, whatever. They all had some level of some component of real estate, right? Whether it was property that they own that they were leasing, or property that they own that they were doing business out of, or land that they owned. They all had some level of real estate. So they all had cash reserves. They all had some level of real estate. And number three, they all had investments. All of them had some level of investments. So I recently saw a statistic. I don't know how accurate it is, but I did see it. And that statistic said that the bulk of the wealth that is in the stock market are owned in the stock market is owned by 83 or 84% of the rich, the wealthy. I don't know how accurate that is. I didn't go into a big deep dive, studying it, trying to find out, different sources that will bear witness to corroborate that or say that it is confirmed to be true. I didn't do that. But I would venture to say, I also saw another statistic at one point that said that I want to say it was like 54% of all corporations own some level of shares and stocks. So that's another statistic. I didn't really dive deep into it, but the gist of it is I saw three things that was in common with all those that were super wealthy. I mean, wealth that they literally wouldn't be able to spend or give their money. They have so much money and resources, they would never be able to even spend it all. I mean, that's another level, right? It's like the more they spent with what they already had and accumulated, it was still earning so much that they would never even be able to spend it all. So they all had cash reserves, they all had some level of real estate, and they all had investments, right? So here is the secret. If you've been through difficult times investing, whether it's in stock, crypto, real estate, whatever it is in, here is one of the secrets to help to mitigate losses and to hedge and protect yourself. That word hedge is something that we saw happen with Sam Bankman-Fried and what's her name? Carolyn Ellison, or whatever her name is, where they didn't believe in stop loss orders. And therefore, when market corrections and different things, economic things would happen, they had no preventative measures in place, right, to protect them from experiencing a significant loss or significant losses. So here's the thing. Diversification. That's number one. That's important. Diversification. So think about it. Cash reserves, some real estate assets, and investments. And when we talk about investments, in that realm of investments, we're not just talking about stocks or bonds. We're talking about every level of investments, right? From stocks, treasury notes, gold, silver, futures, commodities, all types of investments that fall under that investments. Okay, so ETFs, REITs, personal investments where they invested in other people's businesses, right? So when we're talking about diversification, that's what it looks like. Cash reserves, right? So if things are going bad in the real estate markets, right, you have something that you can fall back on. And if things are going bad in both real estate and investments, they have cash, huge sums of cash reserves, right? So diversification is critical. And I notice that a lot of people, when they start sustaining significant losses, if you begin to dive and look into how diversified their portfolio is, a lot of times you won't see much diversification, right? You won't see much diversification. And when I'm talking about diversification right now, I'm just really oversimplifying it. There's some more comprehensive and more, what's the word I'm looking for? More really fancy and really deep ways you can get into diversification, but I'm really simplifying it, really oversimplifying it. Cash reserves, right? You can even, in one sense, you can look at multiple streams of income as being a part of diversification, so that you're not dependent upon just one stream of income, right? Because ultimately, when you own assets, the reason why they own assets is so that they can create other streams of income, which helps with income protection. So that even in itself is a form of diversification. So investments and some level of real estate, so that and these are all things that are cash flowing assets, right? So it's not just own them, they're not just cash flowing. They're also cash flowing assets at the same time. They're assets that's appreciating in value. But if it comes a time when cash flow is affected, or the increasing in value is affected by a downturn in the economy through some type of correction, then they have the other assets or the other asset classes that they've invested in that can help to protect their income stream, and they don't miss a beat in a recession. In fact, they're sitting back waiting with their cash reserves, with their access to funding, waiting on times like this so that they can increase their wealth, right? When other people are panicking, and when other people are being impatient, and other people are stressing out and going through those things. That's why they refer to us, the retail investor. They refer to us and use the term dumb money, because they see how we handle things during times like this, and they know we're not diversified. They know that they know that chances are many of us are either super ultra consumers and spenders, or many of us, we're chasing what they have, and we are diving in deep, and we have probably most of our eggs, if not all of them, in one basket, because we're trying to chase wealth or chase what they have, or get it overnight. So they know that. And then when things get bloody in the market, they know that we're bailing out big time, because we don't have the diversification, the cash reserves, and the cash flow coming in on hand to be able to ride it out. So even on this level, you got to set yourself up. We have to set ourselves up to be able to ride out times when things get economically tight like they are now. And we're already in a recession, if you believe that, or we're about to enter into some real gory, financial gory, moments. They are happening already, and they're coming. And I'm telling you, there are grown people having to move back home with their parents, or move in with 3, 4, 5, 6 roommates, because they can't even afford rent. And rent is about to continue to increase and go up, right? So diversification is key. It is key. And you have to be able to have something left over after you're paying all of your bills, discretionary income, to invest. And if you're talking about getting into more risky and speculative investments, here is the problem. Why so many people have lost so much money is because they didn't have their platform set up. They didn't have their foundation laid first. Before you start getting into serious speculative investments, you should make sure that you have your foundation laid. And one of those foundations is cash reserves. It's important. Cash reserves, right? You can leverage yourself also with dollar cost averaging. Don't just take the lump sum and just go all in, eggs in one basket, bam. And you're like, ooh, look how much money I made. Let me show y'all how much money I made. Okay, all right. If you ain't been around markets and ain't been around the changing elements in the investment realms, it don't last. It gets where there is a downturn. If you haven't been investing long enough, where you've been through 2 or 3 bear markets, right? And you only jumping in this your first bull market ride, and you just got your your cowboy hat on. You got a big old cowboy hat, no cattle, and hee-hawing, talking about how wonderful it is, and you haven't rolled through any bear markets before. You haven't seen how, a 35, 40% collapse in the market. But there's ways you can leverage and hedge yourself through diversification, not putting all your eggs in one basket. Dollar cost averaging and continually to steadily invest through the downturn, right? Through a dollar cost average strategy, because you held back. You didn't go in all lump sum. So now you are able to dollar cost average through the recession and through the economic downturn, so that when you come out on the other side, you've been buying shares and in pieces of it, shares of investments throughout the whole time of duration. So when the time turns, you don't have to try to time the market or have to figure out when things are finally over and start jumping back in, because you've been dollar cost averaging through it. And for me, when things got real bloody in the markets, I bumped up some of my dollar cost averages. I bumped some of them up, the dollar amounts up, right? Because I'm buying at a discount. So it doesn't matter how low or bad things get, right? But you got to have enough left over and the excess income and the discretionary income to be able to do that, right? So let's look through here, because this is one of the foundational things that people miss. They missed how you can use dollar cost averaging to build a solid financial thing and or financial platform or foundation. And they don't even start. This is basic. This is literally 101. And I know I've talked a lot before I've really gotten into it, but this is literally 101. This is as simplified and basic as you can get. You got to have something left over. And you got to just start taking a piece of that and putting it into something. So now you literally right off the rip from get-go, you started with like 2 levels. So now you're going to have your cash reserves that you continue to have something where you can pay your bills, right? As you got your income coming in, your main stream of income coming in, and you're putting something aside that you can pay your bills and pay your expenses, right? You're putting that aside. What you have left over after all of that, we're calling that discretionary income. That's the money that you want to start systematically investing. And like I've said before, I really don't care what you put it in. Just don't put it all in highly speculative investments. Go into ETFs or go into mutual funds. There's so many different mutual funds out there. You can get the prospectus, right? You can get the prospectus, read it over, select an investment. I don't care what company you go with, whether you go with Fidelity, Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, Primerica. I don't care. Just start dollar cost averaging into something with your discretionary income, what you got left over after you've been paying your bills, after you've been paying your expenses, and after you've been funding your cash reserves. This is discretionary income outside of all of that, right? So let's just say you start off with $1,000. Then you're going to add a monthly contribution. We're going to keep it real simple, right? $100. Come on now. See, this is my problem. Cause most people, we blowing $100 all the time. We blowing it on entertainment, on phone plans, on cable, on food, on dining out, on just having fun, going to movies or whatever the case may be. Just about everybody is blowing $100. And if you don't have your hands where you can get your hands on $1,000 just to put away somewhere for the future, come on. That should tell you right there that you're not managing things well. So you got $1,000 you start with and $100 a month you add into it. And we're going to do this for 20 years. And some people are like, well, I don't want to do that. Most people are not going to just go out here and start diving into buying real estate and become successful. All these real estate successful stories that you hear, trust me, for every 1 or 2 that you hear, there's probably 100 or 500 that's losing their shirt and their socks and their underwear, they draws. So stop it with all of that. Most people, you just need to start here and then build to the next levels of getting into real estate and some other more speculative investments after you've established your foundation. Most people, you should start right here because this is one stream that you can create. One solid stream that you could create over time. So even if things are getting bumpy and rocky in other areas, you're creating a stream that can be there 20 or 30 or 40 years from now that you can tap into. This is not conclusive of the whole picture of what you can do financially and investing and establishing a solid financial future for yourself. But this is one stream, and this is a foundational stream. And so many people overlook it. But they want to get out there and swim in the big waters, and they haven't even waded in the 5-foot baby pool yet. This is the 5-foot baby pool. Plug in before I go lose my power. Estimated interest rate, we're going to go 9%. This is an average over time. Over the next 20 years, we're going to say you're on an average 9%. We're not going to do a variance of nothing so that we can look at what 2% over it or 2% under it would be. I'm not going to look at a variance right now. So let's calculate. Look at that. In 20 years, $66,996.55 with just $100 a month. And trust me, 20 years going to go by fast. You're going to blink a few times. You're going to go out to the club and party a few times. You're going to take a few trips. You're going to be living high on high. You're going to be spending all of your resources just having a good time. And in 20 years from now, you're going to be 20 years older. So if you're 20 now, how are you going to be? Before you know it, you're going to blink and you're going to be 40. I'm telling you, trust me on this. And you're going to look back and you're going to have nothing to show for it. And if you can do a model of regressing back and calculating how much money you've spent and blowed, tell me you couldn't use another $66,000, close to $67,000 right now. How would you feel if you had that right now? In this bleak time when so many people are losing their jobs and getting downsized and laid off and can't even hardly afford to put gas in their vehicles. Tell me how you would feel right now if 20 years ago you would have put $1,000 away and added $100 a month to it. And right now you were sitting on a cushion of close to $67,000. How would you feel about that? Okay, let's up it from 100 to 200. Look at this. $128,000. $128,388.70. And all you would have to do is just take $1,000, put it away, and then add to it every month. But the longer you wait, the more you're going to need and the more risk you're going to have to take to try to get to the same place you could have got to if you would have. Think about it. Let's use this analogy, right? You live an hour from your job and you got to be there at 7 a.m. But you don't account for traffic. You don't account for accidents. You don't account for none of that. So every day ain't going to be sunny. Not if you live, where I live, up north. Winter is coming. Fall is coming. Even if you live in a beautiful, sunny place. Like I just got back from Portugal. The guy said, this is a slow time. It's December. But in the summertime, people are coming here to visit. So traffic is more. The airport's more congested. There's more people, that have come to visit their family from other parts of Portugal. Right? So it's not the same. So even though then you can't just, if you live an hour from work, you got to be there at 7. You're going to leave at 6. Or are you going to account for the possibility of things happening? And so you'll leave at 5:30. And that's what happens when it comes to investing. Many people, they get desperate later on and start speeding, start taking risks with their lives, driving crazy, jumping in and out of traffic, driving super fast on icy roads and snowy roads, or weaving and bobbing and weaving in and out of traffic because they didn't plan. And now you're risking everything. When it comes to investing, you're risking all of your savings. You're risking, your income. You're risking everything, trying to super gamble and take these unreasonable risk out of desperation. And it comes down to lack of planning, right? So one of the ways that you can leverage your risk is before you start getting into highly speculative environments, get your foundation and your base right first. And this is one of your foundations and base, and you don't ever leave this base. You just add to it. You build on it, but you don't ever leave this base. This is your base. This is your security blanket. This is that nest egg that you're trying to build up over time. This is almost a set it and forget it. You just put the 20% auto draft and you walk away, and now you start focusing on other things. You don't even go back and think about it anymore. You check it maybe once a year or twice a year. Or if you're like me and you're really super involved, you check it once a week or once a month, whatever you feel comfortable doing. But you just let it auto draft and just come out every month systematically at the same time. And then every now and then, as things get financially better for you and you start earning more, then you add to it. You might add another $50 to it. So now you go from $200 to $250. Boom. $159,000. Tell me, who couldn't use an extra $159,000 that you just got sitting in investments right now? Just like, whoo, man, things are getting tough right now. They're cutting hours on the job, because right now we're going through this recession. So we're not getting overtime and blah, 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 blah. But you got an extra $160,000 that's still sitting there. I don't care if it is. I know people telling you stay away from your 401ks, but $159,000 right now in the 401k, it will sure be a lot better than sitting on what? Hello, talk to me. Hello, I can't see you. Say something. So this is your foundation. This is also a part of risk management because your dollar cost averaging, right? You're letting it grow through the recessions and grow through the bear markets. You're just letting it grow, and you're systematically investing over time. And trust me, depending on how much you're putting away, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, let's just say you're one of those people that you don't really spend a lot, and you got an extra $500 a month that you're adding to that initial $1,000 that you put away. $500 a month, and you do that for 20 years. $312,000. Now tell me you haven't spent $500 a month on car notes, on hair, on shoes, on stuff that you don't even have anymore, stuff that is degraded and falling apart, stuff that televisions. Tell me that you haven't spent $500 a month, because most of us are. Most of us are blowing that kind of money and have nothing to show for it. That's all I'm saying. Most of us don't have nothing to show for it. And this is something that even if you had a 20-year sentence in prison and was a felon, you can come out of prison and do this. Rather than, ain't nobody giving me nothing, my record holding me down, blah, blah, blah. You could take whatever little job that you might get or job that you get. Just don't spend all your money. What is wrong with living beneath your means, people? What is wrong with that, my good friends and my good folks? What is so derogatory about living beneath what you make? Why is it so despised to be normal, to be average? Because the average person is not going to be going out making $500,000 a year, $250,000 a year, even six figures. Let's keep it 100. And even if you're making six figures and if you live in certain places, it ain't the same. Making six figures in Kajunk, Mississippi ain't the same as making six figures in New York. I ain't never heard of Kajunk, Mississippi. I just made that up. But the point is, in some obscure, place that's not in, a high cost of living area, that 100,000 is going to go much further. It's going to do much more. It's going to have more buying power. So what's wrong with just being normal? Let's be honest. The average person is never going to have, it's not even, okay, part of it is about skill set and all of that stuff too. But most people are just going to work a job, a normal job. And what's wrong with that? With taking some of what you have and being responsible enough over it where you don't spend it all and you take 15 to 20% of it and you just begin to invest it in something. You could literally be living in 20 years better than folk that make double and three times what you make if you just build the proper foundation. Don't spend all your money. What is so wicked and despicable about living beneath your means? Let's take this 20 and I'm going to put 10. Because you be like, 20 years. Ooh, child, 20. That's a long time. Okay. How long you been out of high school? How long you been out of high school? How long you been on your current job? And you got nothing saved to show for it. Let's go 10 years. $500 a month. 10 years. 10 years and you can have close to $100,000. Well, you're a little short from it, but you're close to it. $93,524.94. By taking $500 a month for 10 years, you could be sitting on close to $100,000. Could you use $100,000 right now just sitting somewhere? I don't care what it's in. 401k, IRA, Roth. Well, I don't care. Put it in something other than a shoebox. Other than a mattress. Put it into something systematically over time. And while everybody else is complaining about how tough times are, you could be sitting back with no sweat. Like, whew, at least I got $93,524.94 sitting there, that if things got desperate and things got so bad, at least I got something that I can access and get my hands on. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So let's just say you're one of those people that you're going to work and you take your primary income, you'll take 20% of it or whatever amount from it, 15%, and over time you're just going to keep putting it away. At the same time, you start getting into other stuff because you got this part solidified now, right? This is your foundation. This is a part, not complete, not the complete element of your foundation. This is just a part of it. So you got this part solid. Now you can start getting into other types of things, right? You can start getting into other types of things. Did I show you the amount? $1,000, $500 a month, 10 years, $93,524.94. Yeah. Now you can start getting into other things that's a little bit more speculative, a little bit more a little bit more risky. You can start really kind of diving into some real estate, right? You can start, because I'm telling you, a lot of folk have lost their shirt in real estate, especially if they don't know how to set their funding up and they don't leverage themselves right? And they don't plan for it, right? So, and all these folk come out, oh, I'm gonna get an Airbnb. Yeah, you're gonna get an Airbnb in the hood, in a place in the market where that dries up in the wintertime, or it dries up, or it's seasonal. You're gonna lose your shirt, especially if you've leveraged it with debt. That's all I'm saying. You got to think these things through, right? And so you starting to get into more speculative stuff. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. To me, putting all your eggs in one basket is what happens with crypto and what happens with a lot of people's their company, their company stock or something like that. For me, I'm like 5% max. I'm still a little old school with that. 5% max, maybe 10. Good. I ain't doing no 10. 5% max of my total investment of dollars or whatever. Am I investing into the stock plan at the company I work for? Absolutely. It's a no-brainer. But I ain't going all in with everything I have. No. Got this much going in, and it's an extra. It's just something. I don't need that. Then I got something going in over here. Then I got something going in over there. Then I got another place where something's going in. Maybe the bulk of everything's going in over there. But I got these multiple areas, right, where things are going into to have some level of diversification. And, I can tap that because I don't need this. So I don't have to touch that, and I don't have to touch this. I can just use that. And then I got something else over there. Well, if I need something, I can go over there and get it. That's what that's for little things, if I need it to grab a quick $1,000, $2,000. Okay, that's over there. But this is just laying your foundation. Then you can start getting into real estate, or, and then the people that's just all gold, just get you some gold. Look, you're not going to get wealthy. It's too slow. It grows too slow. But should you have those types of things? Gold, oil, utility stocks, dividend paying income. Yeah, you need all of that. Build your nice comprehensive strategy, a plan. So that's a part of your foundation. But you don't put 100% of what you have in gold. You do another 5 or 10% over there in gold, another 5-10% in treasury bonds or notes or whatever, another 5-10-15% over in this, and over in that. And that's how you build your foundation. And then you get into some real estate, and you get into, investing in some businesses, or, actually taking, if you can get up to that, then you could take $25,000 and put it into a business, or you could take $100,000 and put it into, some type of real estate portfolio, trust portfolio, or something like that. You could start getting into some more speculative stuff, but you got to start with the foundation, right? And so now you think about it. If you have started doing the foundation and you just do it, next thing you know, you blink a few times, go to sleep, wake up, come eat home from work, take a couple showers. Next thing you know, 40 years are gone by. Right? So 40 years have gone by, and you still you've been just doing $500 a month. It's just extra money. You've got your cash flow from your job secured enough, and you're living beneath your means, and you're still living good. You got some reserves on the side. And over the time that you've been getting into real estate and getting into businesses and creating your own business and having your own side hustle and doing all of that other stuff that's been creating multiple streams of income, as you've been doing all of that for the last 40 years, you've still been just investing in your foundation, right? You didn't leave the foundation or rip it up and tear it apart and say, that's crap. Don't invest in this and don't stay away from 401ks and all. No, if you're a average working class person, this needs to be a part of your foundation before you start getting into all that other more speculative, higher risk stuff that you need to really investigate, do your due diligence, study, do your homework, and really learn and understand. But now, this is your basic foundation. You've just been steadily doing this for the last 40 years. Right? So now you wake up 40 years from now, after you put $1,000 away, $500 a month away, and you still did all your other stuff. You created other levels of income, other streams of income. You've done well for yourself. But at the same time, you had this foundation that was just there, that you were just solidly investing in for the last 40 years. On top of all the other stuff you were doing. This is why I be saying, why do you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater? For the average, everyday working middle class person, you need to build this level of foundation. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can still do all that other stuff too that these gurus and people are telling you to do. But keep your foundation, because while you've done all of that and created all of that, but you was just sticking away $500 a month, it ain't even a lot of money. Because if you've been building, you can increase that 500 to like 1,000 or whatever. But I'm going to keep it at 500 a month, because a lot of people are going to be like, ooh, that's a lot of money. Look at, you got $2 million. So on top of all the other stuff you've been doing, right? And creating wealth and multiple streams of income and doing all of that stuff that you've been doing on the side, you still kept a really simplified, basic foundational thing in place of dollar cost averaging over 40 years. So even if nothing else worked out and you blew it in every other area, and you were terrible in real estate, and you were awesome and lost half of your money and all of your money in crypto, and you were terrible at all those other things, and you just blew it, you still turned around and you had your foundation you could fall back on. And 40 years from now, you'll still be looking at over potentially $2 million that you could fall back on. And this is the place that trips up so many people. They don't even want to do the basic foundational thing. If you do the basic foundation and then build off of that, create your other streams of income, go into business, start your side hustles, do all of that stuff, but keep your foundation of cash reserves and a solid dollar cost average plan. Maybe you came up on $100,000 and you decided to stick that to the side and don't ever look at it again. Cool, we'll roll with that. But don't ever pull away and move away from your foundation. Your foundation, your basic simplified 101 financial basic foundation is just to have a dollar cost average strategy, get you some cash reserves put away, and get you an investment or multiple investments that you're investing in over time through a dollar cost average strategy. Now you got your foundation, your two pillars set up. You can set up more, but at least you got something that you can fall back on. And that's why that's very important. I started this live podcast at like 6:10 or something like that this morning. If you come back in and watch it, press the subscribe button on YouTube, ring the notification bell on YouTube, on my personal page here if you come through, because I know some folks still ain't woke up yet, because depending on where you're at, if you're on the West Coast, it's still old dark 30 there. And if you're here locally where I'm at, the sun ain't even came up yet. It's still dark outside. But press the heart, the like button, drop some comments below. I'll come back and start watching them. But do you want to build wealth? And if you do, start with a basic foundational strategy. As we looked at some dollar cost average strategies, they also help to mitigate and manage risk. It helps you to be diversified, and it helps to build a foundation. So even if you blow it and you totally bomb at all those other investments and get into real estate and it don't work out like you planned, if you built your proper foundation, once again, I'll show you the numbers, and you did this over the next 40 years, you just started with $1,000 and you put $500 away a month for the next 40 years, while you were still doing all that other stuff. That's what I want to make sure that I'm making real plain. You're going to still do all that other stuff. You're still going to get into businesses or whatever, real estate, or invest in speculative things. You get into crypto and gold, all this other stuff. But you got your foundation laid. And if you blow it at everything and you turn out not to be as smart as you think you are, it won't matter. Because if you took $1,000 a month for $500 $1,000, I'm sorry, one time, $1,000 you started with, added $500 a month to it, and you did that for the next 40 years. At least you got something, and you earned the 9% interest. You average that over that next 40-year term period. At least you got a couple million that you can fall back on. And if you start this at 20 or 21, before you even get 65, you could be sitting on a couple $1,000,000. On top of that, if you did come out where you was hitting big in real estate and you figured it out and you created multiple streams of income and you got your business growing and thriving, and you was like, man, this worked out better than I expected, you still got this extra $2 million as your foundation added to all the other stuff that you've built over the last 40 years. I don't understand why people don't want to build a foundation and think they're going to build something substantial, and you haven't even built the foundation. It makes no sense to me. You want to build something big and grand, and you haven't even built your foundation yet. And for the average person, the average everyday working person, this is the foundation that can be a critical thing that you can fall back on and have if everything else don't work out. And if everything does work out, it makes it even better. This then becomes the icing on the cake that you have, just extra. But so many people won't even do the basic. This is 101 basic fundamental stuff. He that understands, if you understand the power of compound interest, you'll make it work for you. And you won't always be paying it to somebody else. And they are getting rich off of you. We haven't even talked about leveraging debt and those types of things. I just want to keep it simple because so many people are just blowing it with the foundational principle of just taking something every month and systematically putting it away. Cash reserves and some level of dollar cost average strategy into investments, and just do it for a long period of time. That's your basic foundation. Do that, and I guarantee you, you won't regret it. You will also develop the habit of being responsible with what you have. So as things get better, you can continue to grow and add to it. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Do you want to build wealth? Do you want to build wealth? And all these people, everybody going around talking about, I'm an entrepreneur. I get it. But entrepreneur is not a job title. Entrepreneur is not a career. What do you do exactly? That's what I want to know. What do you do exactly? And if you are an entrepreneur and you're still just making the same kind of money that somebody's making from a job, you still got to pay your own health care. See, and I get it. I get when people start saying, yeah, but, being an entrepreneur, making your own money, ain't the same as being a W-2 employee. Yeah, I get you. But you still got to find some health care. Tell me how much that's costing you when you're not in a group plan. Still got to find some health care. At least you should. Still got to pay for insurance. And you still got to pay into Social Security. That don't change. None of that changes just because you're an entrepreneur. If anything, your taxes are higher. Yeah. Especially if you're not, planning for your taxes and stuff like that. Yeah. So if you own your own business, and after all your expenses and stuff, and you're still coming out making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year, you're still middle class or whatever. And you still need to have some level of foundation. That's all I'm saying. So thanks for watching. I'm about to go. Oh, I'm real congested, man. I got a cold and everything, but I'm about to go. This is a real foundational thing. Do you want to build wealth? If you do, build your foundation. Get your foundation set. Get your foundation right first. Get your foundation right. I'm literally imploring you. I'm to the point where I'm like begging you, please, will you just get your foundation started? Please, just get your foundation started. Get your foundation established. Just start right there, please. Get your cash reserves, and get you some money. Just start investing and getting it set aside. Just please please do that. It'll help you. You'll thank me later. You will thank me later. If you started today, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, hit me up. Say, man, 5 years ago, I followed what you said, and it made a huge, significant difference in my life. Thank me later. Once again, if you're watching on YouTube, press the subscribe button, press the thumbs up like button and the notification bell. You'll get notified when we upload new content, new videos. And if you're here on Facebook, on the YouTube page, on the Facebook page of James Hollingsworth, you can leave stars now. I'm sure you've noticed that. You can leave some stars, y'all. Stars. Send some stars. I'd love to get to 100,000. I said 10,000 before. Now I've upped it. Man, I'd love to get to 100,000 stars. I'll take 10. I'll take 10. Hey, I'll take anything right now. But thank you for coming through. If you're watching on Facebook, press the heart button, press the thumbs up like button, drop some comments below on my personal page and on the Working People's Podcast page. And I didn't say it in the beginning, but we are streaming live early this morning. Like I say, the sun still hasn't come up, and it is now 7:13. About to be 7:14 and about to be 7:15 in the morning on Monday. It is the 2nd of January. Hey, Happy New Year to everybody. 2023 is rolling in. Let's start something new. This is a great time to start doing something different and something new, something significant that can change your life. But if you're watching as we streaming live on the Facebook page of Second Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, where Rodney Williams, my brother, my friend, Rodney Williams is the pastor, the illustrious pastor. Thank you for coming through. And let me see. Let's do this. Sorry about that. Let me do this real quick. So we want to say shout out to the ship. Hey, Denise. Denise came through. Hey, we got to get up early and get it to it, Denise. You know what I'm saying? We can't be sleeping in late. We got to get to that bag. We got to get to that money. Ain't that right, Denise? We got to get to that money, because nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream. So shout out to Rodney Williams, Second Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. Shout out to the ship. And you all, I got to go. I got to go. I am out. Thank you.